let's do a little recap of what's everyone been up to, starting with Kyle, because we have not seen Kyle in a while.
Honestly, Kyle is probably, after finding out that Cass has passed away, decided to just hang out at Heck's place for just to lie low, and basically has spent most of the day, most of the night chained just in case. And, nothing untoward happened to anybody. And missed their work day.
And so the session is picking up at lunch the next day.
After that, they spent most of the night. The thing is, Kyle has probably been asleep. He stayed up for as long as possible and made sure that he was tired, and then chained himself to one of Hex's walls. And now that he's waking up, he's very much chained to the wall. So he's like, cool, didn't break out this time. That's great.
Make it sound like you're a werewolf.
I mean, there's some overlap in the horror of the situations.
Very realistic.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair. For when it's picking up about an hour or so after you sent Hess off to go and collect some of the pieces that you need, specifically it was magnesium and then a sodalite mirror that was in the notes, as well as a very specific scale.
Yes. An extremely precise scale so that we can get precisely 21 grams of magnesium. We need the sodalite mirror, and then we also need some elderwood, and then we need strings from just going off of my memory here, strings from a guitar and a violin or a fiddle, the same thing, but whatever. And a piano, as well as, I want to say, a saxophone reed.
Yep. I have the notes up here.
Pulling out of memory as opposed to actually looking up the notes. But no, we need these things because we're building a very special device.
Does Kyle know anything about this?
I don't think so. Windward has spent a lot of time not being able to talk to whoever they want whenever they want to, and so phone is not necessarily the first thing they reach for. And also, the whole project has got Windward feeling something of a kind of way. So, Windward has spent the early evening creeping through the woods, and then the late evening doing research into the early morning, and then the next morning kind of getting all of the final research pieces and compiling everything so that the shopping list could get together. And then even after Hess had left, to be very honest, Windward trusts Kyle to be okay. They're like, well, if I haven't heard from them, then there's probably a good reason, and they'll get in touch when the time comes. I don't think this is the first time you've slept through the beginning of the shift. Windward probably knows that Hess opened her place up to you, and you're either there or you're at our apartment, or you also have an apartment or a house or something in town, I presume.
Yeah.
So one of those three places, whichever one you feel safest, and you will either get in contact or appear when you're ready to. And in the meantime, Windward has been finalizing the design, working on the pieces that she has access to, getting sort of small things built and fine-tuned and ready for final assembly.
Maybe also getting some protections in place just to prevent what's probably going to come. There's only so much you can do, but you can get some stuff ready.
I mean, yeah, like minor wards, shoring those up, making sure that everything is in place, and probably just like a mild scrying for anything unfamiliar in the area. Just light work as we're kind of clipping along here. A lot of book stuff, a lot of busy work, really. A lot of keeping things tidy and checking and rechecking.
It's a pretty quiet day. There's some people that might pop in, but they're people they know their way around. They know how to get a hold of you if they need something.
Yeah.
They know they can't steal from your shop.
No, it's a bad idea. It's bad luck, you see.
It's a really bad idea.
It's probably around this point that after Kyle has finally found where Hess has hidden the key to the chain. It took a while, maybe like 2-3 hours, because that's how you deal with Kyle. You want to make sure that Kyle doesn't know where the key has been hidden. So they've been like looking for about 2 hours and have been able to free themselves. And let's say maybe like waltzes in at around 2 or 3 in the afternoon into Wardy's store and goes straight to look for Wardy.
Yeah, I think Windward is at kind of the front counter looking over a big tome. And as you walk in, you're actually like almost to them before Windward looks up and says, "Oh, Kyle, good morning."
Is it still morning?
Isn't it? And Windward looks looks behind them, and there's a row of they've got a row of different clocks. Like there's some novelty clocks. There's like there's 2 grandfather clocks right next to each other. I think we call them Bert and Ernie, but just like 2 grandfather clocks and then like a couple of cuckoo clocks, and just like looks at them, finds the ones that are actually correct, and is like, "Oh, no, well, good afternoon. I seem to have lost myself. Did you have, how was your evening? And subsequent morning, I suppose."
It's all right, but my day doesn't usually start until I see you anyway.
Aww. You just hear that echoing from like 3 aisles over.
Yeah, Windward gets a big smile, and then just looks at Kyle for a long moment and appreciates him. So yes, but it's been rather eventful for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, why don't we... They reach down and pull out a little sign. It's like out to lunch, back soon or whatever. Set it on the counter. Come, let's go have a chat. And sets it on the counter, and then sort of leads Kyle back to the nook, which just has long, big shelves of books that sort of expand up into the darkness above. And there's big, very plush love seat. How tall is Kyle? I forget if we established.
5'4".
5'4", excellent. Oh,
The short king.
he's cute. I don't know if I ever said how tall Windward was. I think I described it as, I'm gonna go with 6 foot even. Decided on that one, but
We have tall and short.
It's perfect.
Love that.
And Windward sits to one side of the love seat and just sort of like pats their lap.
Basically, Kyle would just get as close as possible and just sort of like hug Wardy and cuddle into them.
Yeah.
You see Laron hopping by off to the back room to go check on certain things in the back room.
Yeah, so Windward wraps an arm around Kyle. Yes, we missed you last night. A little bit of excitement out in the woods, but so what? How was your day yesterday? What did you get up to after you left the shop?
Just meetings, work meetings. You know how it is. And then this is when Kyle becomes quiet and just sort of not like just stares out and then shakes themselves a little bit. It's nothing. I just mostly spent, the night trying to stay awake and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing big. What about you?
Oh, well.
What didn't happen last night?
Yes, it feels like it just happened and already feels like it's been months. Hess, Millie, and I... Oh, I suppose, how much do you know about the local disappearances of a couple of nominally noteworthy folks around town?
Not that much.
Mm-hmm.
Only that, someone is curious about the disappearance.
Oh?
I, for one, don't really care, but, a job is a job.
Question. How much does Windward know about Kyle's employer, the other employer?
How much has Kyle told?
You would know that this other employer is... You think it's a mob boss, but you don't really know that it's a demon. You might feel like it is, but Kyle has not specifically said, hey, I have a demon that I have to, like, answer to, that kind of thing. That's basically what you know.
Mm-hmm.
Powerful, kind of sketchy.
Very sketchy, but you
Okay.
don't know that it's George, and you just think it... I mean, the way Kyle has talked about it, it's...
Doesn't seem to be asking Kyle to do anything particularly dangerous.
Yeah,
Yeah.
At least probably from what Kyle's told you.
just watching people.
That's why I am looking for a move, because I would personally like to have more information on that. So I'm going to look up which move I'm actually supposed to be doing here.
Face to a name.
Yeah.
I believe that would be rolling with their circle.
Yes. Oh, we're doing all right. That's an 11 on the face. Plus, what circle am I adding? Wild.
Yeah.
That's a 12. So I looked into fucking George.
Alrighty. Well, you're a decently powerful entity in Oak Ridge. George is also a decently powerful entity. So, you know George pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
George is a dragon.
Okay.
He leads a fae circle that Oak Ridge is part of, or at least part of Oak Ridge is part of. He's the leader of a court. They mostly don't mess around with a lot of stuff, but he likes to keep an eye on things. Make sure no one's doing anything particularly stupid. Also, would you like to learn something interesting and useful about them, or do you want George to owe you a debt?
Oh, man. I have such a strong desire to not have to learn how to engage with the debt system, but that's not playing the game.
Well, you can call it a debt for a variety of useful things.
I can, yes. Answer a question, arrange a meeting, grant you a worthy boon or useful gift, erase a debt they hold on someone else. Give you a debt they hold on someone else.
As I say, might not be able to erase the debt you're probably thinking of.
Oh,
'cause-
no. Like, there's a lot of good
At least not
stuff there.
at the moment. It's a pretty sizable
Debt.
Yeah, I think for that reason,
Pretty big one.
He's not terribly unfair, but he's also, like, he doesn't have a habit of screwing people over, but he doesn't exactly let them out easy either.
it feels much more like this is a situation in which Windward has learned things about George, but has not confronted him directly. That is something that Kyle needs to do. So I would love to get something interesting about George.
Beyond the fact that that's not actually his name, it's just a name that he goes by.
Well, if I knew his name, then we wouldn't even need to have this conversation, would we? This would be easy.
Exactly, that's why no one knows his name.
That would be an interesting fact to know.
You're not sure if he's been around longer than you have, but at least as long as you have
Okay.
in this city. And from what you've gathered about him, just because it helps to have information on the different power players, and he's a bit of an enigma, doesn't really stick his neck or his nose into things too much, but he keeps an eye on things, and he's been around long enough. He's got some degree of connections to most places, which, you know, makes sense. He's been around, like, forever. He knows stuff.
Mm-hmm. He's one of the better connected folks in town.
Yeah, but for the most part, a lot of what he does is making sure things stay more or less in balance.
Yeah.
When Kyle mentioned someone being interested, the fact that George is interested in these disappearances means he maybe also suspects the stranger.
Gotcha.
Or is curious about the stranger. For what purpose or what his connection to the stranger is, you do not currently know.
So, yeah. Now that we've had that digression, Winfred says, well, I believe that unless you would specifically like to remain rather unentangled with it, we have become rather a bit more involved, perhaps, than you might already know with the disappearances.
Involved how?
Oh, well, we went out and found 2 of them.
Oh.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure you remember my good friend Hawk, who's been around. I lent him my box of buttons.
Yeah, the buttons, of course.
We were able to track him down. He was actually out in one of his small cabins, one of his little hidey holes that he goes to when he's hiding from the consequences of his decisions. So we found him, and we found Darren, an associate of his, 2 of the folks who had gone missing, of course. Of course, we did rather run into a couple of interesting wrinkles while we were on the search. First of all, the cabin itself was guarded by a pair of these strange, were they like shadow creatures?
Yeah, it was almost like shadowy silhouettes.
Guarded by a pair of animate silhouettes, if that makes any sense.
Oh, little?
Yeah. Your average run-of-the-mill shadow creatures did not seem terribly intelligent, although not necessarily automata. It was very strange. Hess did mention once or twice that the magic felt off in a particular way. Perhaps having to do with their field of study.
It felt wrong to all of you. You all felt that intense sense of something here is wrong.
The whole place, actually, the whole affair. I don't know. It's different than anything I've dealt with before. It's concerning, but not much really to know, or that we know about it. You did miss one particular bit of fun.
Oh?
In the scuffle with the silhouettes. Our acquaintance Millie.
Millie really doesn't like you.
Yeah. What about dear Millie?
Well, she appeared at one point in the middle of the scuffle from the basement and took on this absolutely terrifying visage. It was phenomenal. I understand that you've got personal feelings about her, but I think aesthetically you would have appreciated it. A fearsome woman is something to be appreciated, if nothing else.
Of course. I mean, sure, she doesn't like me, but that doesn't mean that I don't like her, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Especially, as you can tell, I like strong, powerful women.
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm.
Speaking of which, I'm really glad that you're safe.
Thank you. I was fortunate to have strong people around me. Might not have gone off if Hess and Millie had not been there.
You're pretty powerful.
I have my moments, thank you. But, I keep you around for many reasons.
Oh?
So Winward's been playing with, or been kind of stroking Kyle's hair with one hand. And with her other hand, she reaches up, squeezes his arm.
When you say you keep me around for reasons, I hope all good reasons.
Oh, yes.
Well, my favorite reason... sorry, continue. I got distracted by my favorite reason.
You also haven't told Kyle about the interesting things at dinner. The whole everything that Cass said.
Oh, well, we hadn't... This is... Boy, you missed a lot.
Well, here's something that I know. Did you know that Cass is dead?
Oh, yes, we heard. I believe When did we hear that? Was that before we left for the woods or after?
You were on your way to pick her up. You had just left. You had the directions for where to find Hawk and Darren when Millie got the text. But they had already called the police, so Kyle probably found out about 15, 20 minutes afterwards.
Yes, as a matter of fact, we we heard as we were on our way out to investigate the cabin, or before we even left. We made the determination that perhaps the site of a murder and not quite be the place to be. We'd run into her, or rather she'd come and spoken with us earlier that night.
Oh.
Yes, apparently the town council hadn't seemed too keen on following up on the investigations of the missing persons. They seemed rather unconcerned, and it had her in something of a tizzy.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly not happy news to hear, in particular for Hess. I would check in on her and offer your condolences. She's working through it.
At this point in time, Hess is probably in a mysterious person's basement. Meeting with people from Multi.
Yeah.
Sweet. I didn't see her when I woke up.
Yeah. No, she slept here, actually. When we got back. Yeah. This actually is... While we were at the cabin, we did find Hawk and Darren. Well, we found... Not necessarily most, but we found a rather intact portion of them. We found their bodies, however.
Portion?
Yes. The physical portion. In its entirety. Intact.
Okay.
And
I thought...
Yeah. Still breathing as well. They are alive.
Awesome. Perfect. I'm glad.
No need for concern. Yes, no need for concern on that front.
Phrasing, Winward. Phrasing.
We have found them. However, they do seem to be missing... Well, they seem to be missing their souls.
I've always wondered what it was like to be without a soul.
Well, I have them on pause at the moment. I did actually, I also found the box of buttons. Fortunately, I've got it.
Oh!
Yes, yeah. Winward kind of awkwardly shifts weight around and pulls the box of buttons out. Yes, I actually had to use both the pause and play buttons for both the DVD VCR, the one that we had taken off of the DVD side of it, as well as the one off of the remote, in order to keep them both in stasis. They're paused at the moment, but they're otherwise intact.
Do you think if we press play, they'll still be alive without a soul?
Oh, yes. They were alive, just, well, it was rather
Missing
clear.
something.
It was rather clear that Hawk hadn't eaten in a few days. He was not looking particularly well.
I will reiterate. Hess did notice that someone had put a sort of preservation or stasis spell on him.
Right.
But it was starting to wear off. So if they hadn't done that, he wouldn't have still been around. You didn't get confirmation, but there was one wearing off. It was about to start wearing off on Darren as well.
Mm-hmm.
So if someone stole their souls, left their body in a cabin, and then put a spell on them to keep the body in the same condition it was in, at least for a certain period of time.
Honestly, I wonder if there's a way to keep people alive without soul. Just not just alive, but working, talking, moving, eating without their soul.
It sounds precisely the sort of dreadful that makes me think that people do it all the time. Did you have somebody specific in mind that you wanted to turn into some sort of drone?
At this point, Kyle's not really hiding it very well. I don't know if you could tell. Kyle is thinking about themselves and is like, I wonder if when my soul is finally taken away, if I could survive and do some, I could just give my soul away and still be me. That should be fine. But as Kyle is about to say all these things, just looks at Ward and goes, no one in particular.
Kyle also remembered that Kyle has a chance to get their part of the deal wiped clean.
Yep.
Marked as complete. And that was part of why you went to the theater.
Yeah. Just those things. What if I can't? What if I can't? What if George doesn't actually, a lot of things. Kyle is human. Kyle has trust issues with George.
Valid, George is a dragon.
But when you say, like, nobody in particular, and you're looking at, like, Windward just holds eye contact and stares at you for a long moment.
Kyle smiles. Anyway.
You're so pretty.
Oh. Well, you're pretty.
That is, categorically untrue, but thank you for saying so.
You can hear LeRon gagging. Going on.
Ron, shut
And
up!
then he pops his head back up and gives you, like, the equivalent of a thumbs up when we're saying, they're still good back there, and then hops off back to work.
But yes, so, as I was saying, we've got the bodies here, and we've actually restarted an old project of mine. It's a device that, a device that locates souls, as it were.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Why do you have a device that locates souls?
Well, I don't yet. But we will soon.
Okay.
And, we will have it so that we can find the souls, and we can put it back in their bodies, and, well, they can go on their merry way, and we can figure out who the devil started this whole thing, because it's something of a nightmare.
Of course.
Mm-hmm. Yes, so, notes that I've been collecting for quite some time. I think the puzzle box is actually still open and lying on the floor. It's a chest that you had seen on the bottom shelf and kind of tucked away under the front counter. And it doesn't just have one lock, like it is a complicated puzzle box to open.
I've tried to open it.
Yeah.
It was very frustrating and you got nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And some of the papers that are sort of, at this point, like haphazardly stacked in there are like stuff with the papal seal from the 15th century and weird artwork, a couple of like sheets of sheet music and all sorts of weird things.
It is at this point that I'm going to lean down and just sort of like bring the box if Wardy is gonna let me, just because I've been trying to open this box for a while. Like, oh, it's this box. And I'm just gonna go lean in and like bring it up closer so I can. May I look in it?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Okay.
Please. How do you settle back into looking at it? Like, how are you sitting now?
So basically, still leaning against you, and now the box is on my. I'm bisexually sitting. If that makes any sense. That is what I'm sitting, like with one of the leg up and the other down, basically as a bisexual disaster.
Yeah.
That is how I'm sitting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Never sit any other way myself, but
Perfect.
yeah, I think this is where, if we've got this pull away for the image of it, we see that Kyle is sort of spread out and propped up in a weird way, and Windward is actually kind of sitting upright with both feet on the floor. Their arm is almost more on the back of the couch than it is on Kyle right now.
Mm-hmm.
And they, as you're sort of shuffling through things, I think Windward is just looking over your shoulder at all the notes.
Are you looking for a move?
Yeah.
Figure someone out?
Yeah, figure someone out. What do the notes basically reveal about Wardy to me?
Okay.
Just because I have been trying to open this for a while and have failed. And I want to know what's in it.
Alright, so roll with mind.
With mine. Oh no, that's a -1. Why?
Kyle makes bad decisions sometimes. Windward is not one of them, but Kyle makes bad decisions sometimes.
Sure. I rolled a 8 and then -1.
Okay.
All right. On a hit, ask 2. On a 7 to 9, they ask one of you as well.
I would probably go, what does Wardy hope to get from all of these notes? What are they trying to research with this? Because it seems like they've had this box for a very long time, and it didn't just suddenly come up that they wanted to build a soul finder just because they found these two soulless people. So basically, I just want to know what's up.
Are you going to ask that as you're flipping through?
Yeah, I'm going to be like, oh, looks like you've had this for a while. I know, because I've been trying to open it for a while. But
Well, it's the fourth box I've had for this little project, but yeah, I'd say I've had it since. I think I'd originally gotten turned on to the notes in early 16th century at least. Kind of tooling around Europe at the time. It was a lot of discussions being had about the nature of souls, and you know, it's something I've been considering for a while, and well, I've had to set it aside for various reasons. Got stolen once. That was turned into something of a mess.
frustrating.
Yes. Oh God, you don't even know the half of it.
I'm pretty sure who the thieves were never seen again.
No, they were not.
It's at this point that Kyle probably reached out to touch Wardy's heart a little bit, just sort of like pressing it, and says, it seems like you've been looking for something for a while. You didn't lose your soul, did you?
Oh no, mine. I've always had quite a good idea of who was holding my leash at any given time. Good to have it back, right where it belongs. And Winward actually presses Kyle's hand, like just wraps his hand around Kyle's and holds it and looks at him. But yes, I'm looking for someone. It is someone that I need to find. And I suppose, well, it's rather a discussion that we need to have.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know you can tell me anything.
You know I do. And I also know that delaying this conversation isn't making anything easier. And I know that through it all you'll be with me, and you can know these things for millennia and still not really believe them. So I'm worried. Thank you for being with me.
Of course.
Now you know that you're not my first love.
Of course.
Well, there was somebody else that I lost a long time ago. Has to do with this, ironically. Pulls Kyle's hand off of his chest and then sets it back in. Has to do with why I lost control of it in the first place. Somebody who meant a great deal to me, still does mean a great deal to me, and needed to be protected. So I made the necessary sacrifices, and well, to be honest, I'm not entirely sure that everything got done quite to the best, but we made the best of it that we could.
Mm-hmm.
And well, I need to see him again. I need to.
Oh.
Right. I need to know that he's okay.
Have you heard from him somehow?
You know, there have been hints. I know that he's out there. There's been near misses, but it was never quite the right time.
Right.
It was never quite the right time. I was never in quite the right place. That's part of why this has remained in its box. And
Right.
yeah, but with Hess's help, I'll be able to get it working. I can't imagine that he'll be well pleased at the compromises I made in order to protect him, but ultimately I stand by the decision, and if nothing else, need closure.
Okay. Where does that leave me?
Well, right here, I hope. I have no intention of giving you up. Not for the world, not for anything.
When you say that, Kyle smiles and lets out the longest breath and, oh, thank God, because I thought you were like breaking up with me, and I was gonna be like, I was trying to be cool and pretend that it was like, oh, a long lost love, whatever.
No,
right.
absolutely.
This is just a closure thing.
Windward actually is taken a little bit aback by it being stated. I just kind of like looks up and to the side and is just like, yes. Closure, just closing the book on an old mode of life, old experiences, just making sure everything's in a good place. And then who knows what happens from there, to just see where they are and how things have gone for them, and perhaps to exchange a few apologies and well, I don't know. It's been quite a while, and you know, one truly never knows. Always best to not go in with too many expectations, or at the very least to prepare for the worst. And, of course, to, have something delightful waiting for me on the other side.
Right.
I think at this point, Windward reaches up and takes their glasses off and sets them aside. And their eyes are a deep purple that is flecked with caresses of pink as they look at Kyle.
Kyle likes that. I'm sorry. Just got distracted by the colors of the eyes. But yes.
As I know I've said it, and I know that you understand that I've been sincere, but it bears repeating. I have never in all my years met anyone that I feel quite like you make me feel. It's not a difference of degree, it is truly a difference of kind from every other single soul that I have met, aside in many ways from this one. So, two things are very true, and these are the two things that you must believe. The first is that, regardless of what happens, of how any of those conversations go, of anything that changes along the way, we will be together for it. We will work through it. And we will be okay. And the other thing that you have to know is that this is ultimately something that, well, I don't know if I'll ever find peace until it's done.
I believe. And I'm going to make sure that we work hard to be okay. Whatever happens.
Whatever happens.
And this is, at this point, Kyle reaches out and just sort of like caresses your face and sort of gives you a kiss. And it's a quick kiss, not like the kisses that we have at home. And it's like, we're in public.
Yeah, you're at work sometimes. Queenie will pop in and ask for something. People walk by. Laurent, is making gagging noises now on the other side of the store. You don't know what happened.
It's like, it's just a quick kiss and says, I've never quite felt the same way. Well, I've never quite felt anything like I've ever felt with you, with anyone, really. So the feeling is as mutual as it gets. And I believe you. So, no matter what.
No matter what.
I'm on this ride until the wheels fall off.
Aww.
I love you, Kyle.
I love you too, Ori.
Windward leans in and gets another kiss.
Aww.
But for all that, before anything else can get done, we've got a little magic box to put together.
All right.
This is when Laurent comes up and he has your cell phone win from where you left it up at the front counter because you were distracted. And just to on a dramatic note, you see there's a couple of missing texts, confirmation that Hess got most of the materials, but it seems she forgot the strings because she ran into Cole and they were talking to somebody and now they're going to meet with Multi. Also, Angel and Millie went to Calhoun's, which is a pretty nice restaurant on the river, to stake out a meeting between the old men and the stranger.
As Windward is looking at it, now, who the devil is Multi?
Tempest Multi is a production of Pseudonym Social, changing reality one story at a time. It is an actual play podcast using Urban Shadow's 2E Quick Start Guide, and it's set once again in the town of Oak Ridge, Tennessee. I am your keeper and producer.
My name is Zad Kiel, or just Zad. In this game, I am going to be playing Windward Pudge, and they are using the Imp playbook.
Hi, I'm Glyza. I will be playing Kyle of the Tainted Playbook.
To get more information on this or any of our other shows, check out our website at pseudonymsocial.com.